Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to be making a card for one of my friends whose sister is ill, and I'm going to tell you the story before I start the card. As I promised, the first thing I'm going to do is tell you the story about Cath and her sister. Cath's sister, Norma, lives about 10 minutes from her, and she and her husband adopted a one-eyed chihuahua from a rescue center, and the dog had always been her husband's pal, but lately she hadn't been feeling well and she'd been resting, and every time she would lay in bed, the chihuahua would get up on her and put its head on her breast and cry. And it wasn't just once or twice, it was often. And so she went to the doctor because she wasn't feeling well, told the story about her dog, and her doctor did some tests and she had breast cancer. So this one-eyed chihuahua was a miracle and really saved her life. And I put the story on my blog, and when I did, another viewer said that when she was sleeping one night, her cat jumped up on her and scratched her lip with its claw and broke her lip open. So when she woke up, she felt a little woozy. She tested her blood sugars, and her blood sugar was about 40. She's diabetic. And if you know anything about diabetes, that's pretty close to coma level. So her cat saved her. So if you or anyone you know has an animal that's giving them some kind of signs, this is a great story to pass along, because, I mean, how many of us have had our animals do things like that and just ignored it? So in Norma's case, Cath's sister, her dog has been a hero for her, so I thought I would make her a card with her chihuahua on it. And the only chihuahua I had was from this Tim Holz Crazy Dogs set, and it's this chihuahua. And I'll stamp that out later, but first I want to show you a technique that I saw Lindsay the Frugal Crafter do a very long time ago, and that is making a barn wood look background. So what I'm starting out with is a piece of Recollections 110-pound heavyweight cardstock. It's 5 1/4 by 4 inches across. It's white, and I'm going to take my scoreboard. I'm going to make sure that I'm in camera. This is the second time I've had to do this video because I had issues the first time not being in camera. And so we're going to put it on the 5 1/4 inch side is in the up and down, and the 4 inches across the top. You can see that. Excuse me. And we're going to score it every 1/2 inch. If you don't have a scoreboard, you could take a ruler and put your paper on a phone book and run a butter knife, the edge of a butter knife, or something that's got a tip like this on it that you could rub it or run along the length of it. You could use something like the end of a paintbrush that's got a point like that. You could do it with that. But you need to have something foamy underneath to absorb it so that it doesn't tear your paper. And don't push really hard until you figure out your rhythm, because if you do, you'll tear your paper. After you've done that, you're going to want a piece of scrap paper. And I'm going to my 88 pages from the best buttercream frosting ever. The Rich and I accidentally printed out. So this is our background. We're going to use some distress inks: Walnut Stain, Hickory Smoke, Gathered Twigs, and Pumice Stone. And I'm going to start with the Pumice Stone because I like the gray to be my background color. And you're just going to go direct to paper with your ink pad. Did you wonder how long it would take for my dog to bark? That's all it took. Looks like I need to re-ink this. Distress inks need to be re-inked more than any other inks, so if you buy them, I do recommend you buying the re-inkers too. And my little ones are even drier than these ones, so just note to self. Then I'm going to go on with the Walnut Stain. I'm going lightest to darkest. If you didn't, sorry, Gathered Twigs is lighter. And I'm not going to cover the whole thing with this. I'm just going to go up and down with it. Remember, this is going to look like wood, so you want to put in things that will look like the different, what do you call that with wood? I'm trying to think of that word. The grain of the wood. You want it to look like it's the grain of the wood is on your paper. So I'm just going to let it sit for a second so that it absorbs, and then I'm going to go in with hickory smoke. And again, straight up and down. You want your lines to be like wood grain would be. Finally got the word, so now I'm going to use it. I'm going to do this edge because it doesn't have the whole edge in it. Okay. Then I'm going to take the Walnut Stain, and this one is my darkest, so I'm going to just do very little bits of it here and there. Again, just on my lines like that. That's what it looks like so far. I know you're thinking, well, that's a hot mess, and yeah, it kind of looks like a hot mess. I'm going to do my bottom edge here because I don't have any ink on it, and I don't have any ink up in that corner. Then, once you've done that, you're going to take your water and something to dab it with. I use my trusty baby bibs that I keep on my chair, and we're just going to spray it all over. And then I like to dab here and there. I think this step really does make it look like wood. So if you don't have distress inks, maybe you could wait until you're with friends and borrow theirs if they have them. But distress inks do make a difference with this process, I believe. I might be making that up, but that's what I think. Now the last step involves either white ink, a white gel pen, or some gesso. And I made my own homemade gesso. It's a 1/4 cup of plaster Paris, a 1/4 cup of water, 1/2 cup of white kraft paint, very inexpensive, and a 1/4 cup of Elmer's glue. And then we're going to take our brush and a little bit of gesso. Now you only need a tiny bit of this, or white paint or white ink. We're going to try, right now we're going to play with the gesso just because this is what I used the first time. And you just kind of want to draw a few lines with this, because I think this is what gives it the weathered, aged look. Okay, that looks pretty good. Then once you let it dry, it looks even better. But I wanted to, when I did mine, I wanted to dry it. I'm going to dry it so that you can see how it looks once it's dry, and so I can use my white gel pen on it, because I think the white gel pen does add something to it too. Good enough. Let me grab my gel pen. You're going to take your gel pen and you're going to make very little lines like this, and then what I did is I just moved my finger down, straight up and down, so that it lightens them, and also so that it maintains the texture, because if you go left to right, you're going to end up having your stripes go smeary in the wrong direction. We want them to look like they're on the grain. Does that make sense? Yeah, I hope it does. Straight up and down. Okay, I think that'll do it. I'm going to do one more stripe with the gesso. Get some stripes in here. As I said, my gesso's not in great shape, so yours I'm sure will be a lot better than mine. And you can use any kind of brush really, as long as you have a light touch with it. I'm using this because I don't have a light touch with anything I do. And then we'll let this set. I'm going to get some of this chunky gesso off. We'll let this set, and then we'll come back. Alright, so the colors of markers I'm going to use are going to be these ones. These are Touch 5 markers. They're going to be 4, 136, 120, GG5, 100, 104, and 93. And you can see them on the swatches what they look like. The black is for his nose, or his or her nose. And then color that in. Going to take my blender pen and go into the middle of that collar, and it'll take some of the color off so it lightens it up a little bit. See how it does that? It's nice. Then I'm going to scribble it off on a piece of paper because I want to be able to get the boo-boo mistake out of his eye. In fact, I made a mistake on both eyes where I got the gold into his eyes. I didn't really want that. Alright, now I'm going to, if you've never used a colorless blender, let me explain that first. If you've never used a colorless blender, you use it on anywhere, like I'm just going to show you in this spot right here. See how the gold is outside the line? If you just go back and forth on that area, see how it takes off the excess? I didn't need to do that because I'm going to cut my dog out, but I just wanted to show you how you fix the mistakes that you make. It's very simple, just like that. And sometimes you have to go around the area a couple times to clean up any mistake you make. And if you can't completely get it cleaned up, you can always use a white gel pen, and that'll take care of it too. So here is our card base, and I used a die to cut out our dog. Oh, I thought it was really cute, and then I cut this out with the same die. But if I leave it in this die, then it's going to be too big to go on this with the dog, so I think I might put it in the inside with the I'm so glad you found yours below it. So that's what I'm thinking right now, because on the front we're going to have our panel. Now I cut some fun foam out, and in the last few videos I've been showing you how to cut out fun foam so that you can put it on the back of your card. I think that ought to do it, since I went after it like a crazy person. Should gotta cut off a little bit on the bottom here. I got a little bit too long on this one end. Just snap that right off and it should be fine. Then we'll put, okay, this is going to go on the front of our card. And I made it so it was kind of smaller than normal. I wanted you to be able to see the brown behind it. And then I wasn't sure if I should do something with our dog, but I decided I did want to use a little bit of my, this is a marker that's called Soft Suede, and I'm going to scribble it on this plastic piece. And you can't see the color of it right now. Hold on, I'll put something under it. You'll still see red, or pink. And then I'm going to use a blender pen, and this is just a marker that has some glycerin and water in it. Let's see if we can move this around. So our card base is attached, at least it looks like it is. Because I scored this and put a bunch of different layers of inks and paint on it, it's not going to be easy to adhere to something. So I just want to make sure that I take some wet glue that I'm sure will really hold it down, and I'm just going to add it to our foam, and that way they're not going to have it show up in a few pieces. I hate it when a card doesn't reach its destination in one piece. Just making sure that it's well adhered. I think it is now. And then I have to make sure which side is up. I could put some more foam pieces under him, but I don't know if I will, because I kind of like him the way he is, even though I'm not crazy about this little base under him. I'm going to put a little bit more ink on this palette and see if we can get our blender pen to pick it up and color more of the area in that darker color. That way we won't just have that one spot of dark, the rest of it will have some on it too. That's better. Not as scary as it could have been. So there's our dog, and I was going to go around the outside of our dog with a marker just to kind of make it blend in, but now I think I might just put some wet glue. I guess I'll put tape runner and wet glue. I want to really make sure this sticks, if you get my drift. The ATG gun that never stops giving. It's the greatest thing ever, isn't it? I'm going to have some glue on that too, and that way it'll stay in place and we won't have to worry about it. I'll put that dog right in the center of our card. And then in the inside, put this. Miracles come in all shapes and sizes, and this I'm going to attach with wet glue. And then I'm not crazy about this banner either, but it's been growing on me. I'm so glad you found yours. Miracles come in all shapes and sizes. I'm so glad you found yours. Okay, so I decided I needed to add something to the front, and I was thinking about it overnight, and I'd finished the card, but I really thought it needed something else. So I wrote on my blog that I thought it needed something else, and one of my viewers said, you know, the word hope is really important to people with cancer, and I agreed. So I used a die that cuts these letters out, and I have to say I don't love the die and I don't recommend it, and so it doesn't cut these out well. They're letters that spell out the word hope. It actually spells out the whole alphabet, but as I said, it doesn't work well, and I even use thin paper, thick paper. I've tried all papers, and I've used all kinds of different techniques to try and make sure that it would work, and nothing has worked. I've used piece of foam. I've tried using a bunch of different layers to push it down with, and still no help. Let me get a little cloth and I'm going to wet it. This works for me when I have a little bit of glue that's still wet and I want to get it off. I take some water on one of my little bibs that I keep attached to my chair, and I just kind of dab it. Don't rub it, just dab it, and that will help your letter stay down. And then you take the dry part and you dab it again, and it should, when it dries, you shouldn't see the any of the glue. And I'm using Tombow Mono adhesive, and it shouldn't show glue anyway. Oh, this is one of my micro brushes that I buy from AliExpress. I've talked about these many times on videos. You just type in micro brush, and then I think I type in makeup, and that's how I find them. And for these ones that have the fuzzy tip, you can get 100 of them for under $2, and there's no shipping anywhere in the world that I know of. If anybody that's in a different country than the US, if any of you have to pay shipping, will you let me know? Because as far as I know, they don't charge shipping, but I might be wrong about that. Now, I think I'm going to just cut this out with my paper trimmer. Then I'm going to cut very close to the E. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll push it up. Hopefully you can. Okay. Then if I do want to do a notch, I could do the notch on that end, or I could just cut it off. I think I'm just going to cut it off straight. Now, I'm going to raise this up. That doesn't look too bad. I think I'm going to go with that one. I might put it at the top because I could cover some of our dog. If you can't see, I'm using my ATG to go over this. Hopefully I can attach it to my brown paper. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to get our trimmer and trim that off. If you ever have a paper trimmer incident like this, where your paper's just a little bit too wide and you can't figure out a way to put it back into the trimmer, take a piece of washi tape. This is just regular washi tape, and I made it into like a donut, and I'm going to put it under just this top section. So what you're going to do is you're going to line it up in your trimmer where you want it. I just want to have, I'm going to cut off just a little bit more like that. Try to keep it even if I can. There we go. And then all you have to do is just take it back off the washi tape, and if it tears the very back of your paper, that shouldn't be a big deal either. That was my secret for the day. So now we have hope up on letters. Put it like that. Put it here. Put it like that. I kind of like it up there. What do you guys think of that? I think I might put it maybe on a little piece of foam. I'm just gonna, that's a really good size piece. I'll just snip off the end of it. That looks good. That way I can put it on there. It kind of looks, to me when I do this, it kind of looks like one of those crates that says like fragile or something on the side of it. I know you're probably thinking, what is she even talking about? But I'll tell you, I'll show it to you in a second. I just put ATG on the back of my little black piece, and then I'm going to put a little bit more on the front, and hopefully we'll get it to stick. And even if I don't get it to stick with this, I'm going to use some wet glue, hopefully. Here we go. I know you're thinking, geez, that's going to go everywhere, and it probably will. That's why I'm going to use my micro brush and just go over it like this. Ooh, look, my tape runner's trying to come off. This way, we've got glue everywhere we need it to be. I kind of like it. What do you guys think? I like it better than I did before. Miracles come in all shapes and sizes. I'm so glad you found yours. I think that's a cool thing. Anyway, got my stamp on the back, and I'm going to send this to my girlfriend for her to give to her sister. So I'm going to put it in a bigger envelope than I normally would use. So I'm going to decorate her envelope with some paw prints. And let me grab those. I'll be right back. So I've got my envelope. Here's my card. I really like it now that I have that hope on there. Thank you so much for that tip. I love it. I think it looks so much better. It needed something, and I like the way it looks, you know, like those boxes, as I was saying, that say like fragile or whatever. I kind of like that on there. And then I have these two stamps that are from an old Stampin' Up! Set that's called D is for Dog. And this sentiment says, a dog wags his tail with its heart. And I thought I would just put that on the back of the card. Since this part is not going to be in the, it's not going through the mail, it's, I can kind of stamp anything on it. Because like I said, I'm not going to put it through the mail. I'm going to put the other one through the mail. That's too bad that it didn't get inked well enough. I'd ink it again, but I'm going to put more stamps here and there. I find that kraft cardstock is very absorbent, and this is one of those cardstocks that you really need to use either a MISTI on, or you need to get serious with your black marker, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stamp that, and then let's grab a black marker, and we'll just fix our little mistakes. That's all. It's not really a mistake, it's just ink that didn't cover everything. So I'm grabbing my Sharpie. I'm going to turn that paw print into perfect paw print. Whoops. Except for that little boo-boo I just made. I do say boo-boo a lot, don't I? Oh well. So there is our card for our envelope. Our envelope for our card. Made that up, didn't I? And there is our card. I really, really like it now that I have that hope on the front. It's a little bit sticky, of course. Why wouldn't it be? I could do something to make the letters stand out more, but I think they look good the way they are. I hope that you enjoyed this, that you'll give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Tell your friends about me on social media because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.